What do we all make of Carlos Sucre's scorecard? 117, 111 for Estrada. 9 rounds to the Mexican. I don't think anyone really likes it. And now apparently he has been suspended by the WBA as a result of his really wide scorecard. They did have a little statement next to this apparent ruling now, where they said that it's not that it was a robbery, it's just it wasn't a clear reflection of what was a really close, hard to score fight. Which is true, it was. There were so many ebbs and flows to this fantastic rematch. But it wasn't a robbery. And this is coming from a huge Chocolatito fan. Now, personally, I scored it a draw. And I'm starting to see maybe that if one guy did deserve it, maybe it was Chocolatito. Even though technically I got a prediction right. But robbery. Some people don't know what robbery means. Because I've seen some people write, I can see the argument for Estrada, but I do think it was a robbery. That does not make any sense. If you can see Estrada winning that fight and give it to him 115, 113, then there's no such thing as a robbery. A robbery is where one guy, pretty much everyone agrees, clearly won. It's where you can't make an argument for the other guy. With all those swing rounds, you can make an argument that Estrada deserved to win. Was Chocolatito a more deserving winner, under the slightest wind? Maybe. I'm starting to feel that way. His defense in this rematch was fantastic. And I think it was a fight in which you really had to pay attention to during the rounds. There was so much going on technically. There were so many ebbs and flows. Estrada would come forward, then he would fight around on the back foot. Gonzalez would have his bursts, but then he would make Estrada miss many times by backing away, by using his forearms, by dipping to the side, by pulling back while keeping himself balanced. All kinds of defensive measures all mixed up. You really had to pay attention to see which punches were landing. And technically, Gonzalez not only threw more, but he landed more and at a slightly higher percentage as well. Not all 2 punches are equal, as the saying goes. Estrada was probably hitting harder on average. But the defensive work of Gonzalez, I think, is what I'm always going to see and emphasize in that rematch. Again, I scored it a draw. So I'm trying to still figure out who do I felt deserved to win. And I was just so impressed by Chocolatito with how he was able to keep up the pace. I thought he was going to fade later on, and that was going to be where Estrada would press his advantage, where many people felt the naturally younger and bigger man would pull away and win a decision that most people would agree with. But the 12th and last round, Estrada did really go for it, but Chocolatito came right back. What an incredible little burst that was from a guy who started at minimum weight, is only 5'3". He's been a world champion since 2008. And then here we are, 2021. He'd been knocked out. He'd had injuries. He'd been inactive for ages. There he's roaring back against Estrada, the number 1 in the division. And in that little last round burst, did he just grab victory? A lot of people are saying yes. Now, there's an interesting psychology with the last round. Even if by winning it, it squares it all and it's 6 apiece, you still kind of win some kind of spiritual victory if you win the last round, because you're both aware this is your last opportunity to make an impression on the judges. So whoever really grabs this last round, in a sense, they kind of do win. And I thought Estrada did fantastic in the round, very aggressive, but the way Chocolatito came back, it sounds insane for a guy who threw over 1,300 punches, but he conserved himself as well. Chocolatito does not throw endless power punches. He throws a lot of half power shots to position you, to try and open you up. And then he puts a bit more in his shots. He's a real surgeon in there. At this weight, you can still see he's fighting against a stronger current. He doesn't have the physicality or the power that used to make him so much more dominant in the lower weight divisions. I mean, the lower weight divisions. But with his defense in this fight, with his volume and his passion, he is still able to take the very top at 115 and give as good as he gets, and maybe gave a little bit better. Early candidate for Fight of the Year. I don't think it was necessarily the best fight that Eddie Hearn had ever seen live. I think he's just trying to do super flyweight a favour and say such a thing to put more light on the division, which is what they deserve. And what were the paychecks for this fight? I want to know, because I am aware that these guys haven't made $1 million yet in any of these fights for themselves. And look at Avni Yildirim recently against Canelo. He got $2.5 million. And you've got the idea that fighters can't get overpaid. Yeah, I kind of get it, but you've got all-time greats at £115. And just because of the stigma of, you know, a lot of people don't like watching smaller guys, they get peanuts compared to guys who aren't even like world champs or even really good fighters. There's something messed up there. In fairness and credit to Estrada, he said that he felt it was maybe a draw and that Chocolatito deserves a third fight. Sure, let's go for it. I'm happy with that. I'm sure most people are. But Rungvisai was mandatory before they had this rematch. And to shut him out again, I think would be a bit harsh. I get the sense Estrada doesn't really want to fight him as much, and I guess Chocolatito wouldn't, because of the danger he presents. I think even Estrada said Rungvisai, because he's a lefty and he's complicated, he might prefer to fight Chocolatito. But you've got to let him in there at some point. Rungvisai deserves his shot. He is the other outstanding guy at the weight. It's an absolute cruncher of a division. What are your options? You've just squeaked past Roman Gonzalez, and it's like you can have a third fight with him, or you can go and fight Rungvisai again. It's like there's no easy way out. All the other divisions with asking for more money, you get fighters who haven't even made it yet. They act so entitled, and then you get a brilliant fight like this, and as soon as you talk to them when the fight's done, there's no like, oh, talk to my promoter, I don't know, I need to have a break. The first thing that comes out of their mouths as soon as they've had such a tough fight as that is, oh, yeah, sure, when can we go again? I'll go again later this year. You really have got to take your hats off to these guys. And Roman Gonzalez, again, considering he came from minimum weight and he's just done that, arguably beat the number one guy. Beaten him twice now. It's incredible stuff. Eddie Hearn, I think, will want the third fight, but let's see how things play out.